We should have, according to these phones, we have a strong reception, so I don't know what is going on, but let's do the best we can. Okay, can you tell people on the bus who you all are?
I'm Christy Everett Woods. This is my son, Max. This is my son, Ethan, over there, wave. And my youngest is Waylon. It's my friend Crystal Lawmaster. We are related by marriage.
This is Abby. And
Hi, Abby.
that one is Liam.
Liam behind is a special child, but Liam was, how much did he weigh when he was born?
15 ounces.
15 ounces.
Hi.
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 Bless him.
You okay? Yeah, everything's okay.
15 ounces, unreal. Okay, well, let's start at the beginning. Let's go to the very beginning of the story.
Okay, so my Max, he I never was pro or anti-vaccine. I just took the kids to the doctor and I did what they told me to.
So
Max,
you are one of the, I was told.
Right.
You were not anti-vaccine.
Right. I was 18 when I had Ethan back there. I was 21 when I had Max. And he had a rough first year. He spent almost the entire first year on antibiotics, several severe ear infections. He was born with a cleft lip, so he definitely has midline defects. We got that surgery repaired when he was 7 weeks old. But just constant, several rounds, like 3 rounds in a row of antibiotics. Then he would go a few weeks without, and then he'd be back on 3 different rounds of antibiotics. And they wanted to put tubes in his ears when he was 12 months old. He was sick with croup for those 12 months, for that 12-month appointment, and we actually did not get vaccines at 12 months. When and since he had such a rough first year, when he got sick with croup, when he got better after that, I didn't take him back until he was 2. So we didn't go for a solid year. So I didn't take him to get that first MMR until he was 2 years old. When we went into the doctor's office, he was mommy, daddy, duck, truck. So he probably wasn't saying as much words as he should have been for a 2-year-old, but he had vocabulary. He was working on it. I knew instantly this wasn't something that happened after the gut issues started. I knew instantly something happened. The moment that needle hit him, he glossed over, he looked up into the corner, and then he started covering his ears.
So it just was like that for you.
And it was loud. This humming, you could hear him coming for blocks away. And so that's how we left the doctor's office. Everything, of course, everything's fine. This is just what happens. He's probably going to be a little bit fussy because of those vaccines, and of course, Tylenol and whole 9 yards is what they tell you to do. And I couldn't shake it. I didn't have internet at the time. I didn't know any of this happened to other people. But I couldn't shake that it had something to do with those vaccines.
So none of this before.
No, none of this before. He could. I watched my sister's child at the same time, and they were born the same day. If we didn't have a wall there, we would have been facing each other giving birth. And of them as infants, they were right on par with each other. You could sit down with the trucks that had buttons, and one button makes the wheel move and the other button makes the motor rev, and you could show them, you push this button and then you reach for the wheels, getting ready for the wheels to move, and so you could teach them stuff. There was fire there, there was wisdom there. And he just reverted into a place where he was doing nothing but dealing with what I later in hindsight believed to be pain. This started a 4-year battle of explosive butt burning diarrhea. Burned him the second it touched him, like a chemical burn. And everybody tells me this is fine, this is normal, this is teething, this is whatever it is, 1,000 things of whatever it is. And I couldn't shake that feeling of that it was the vaccines, and so I needed him. He was in daycare at the time, and I didn't want him, of course he needed to have more vaccines and to happen. They never once told me that it was as simple as signing a piece of paper. That it was absolutely not. Your kid cannot go here. You cannot do anything at all whatsoever. You cannot live your life unless you have these vaccines. And so I'm like begging and pleading with them. There's got to be a way around this. He had these reactions. Okay, well, we'll let him go here if you go and get a note from your doctor. They never told me that there was a form. And you're supposed to have that medical exemption form filled out by your doctor. They're supposed to provide that to me and have me take that to the doctor. But Oklahoma's form, it's all on one page. So if they would have given me that would have told me that there's religious exemptions. And so they didn't present that form to me so that I would have that information. They made me go and have the doctor just write a handwritten note, which I was actually able to get her to do, and submit that to them. And apparently they must have taken care of that end of the paperwork, because I never saw a vaccine exemption form for another 10 years later. I didn't even know. I had no idea that they existed. And so I go and do that, and I'm taking him to the daycare, and 2 years has gone by since he got that first MMR, and the fog is lifting. He's looking me in the eye again.
You're getting somewhere.
I'm getting somewhere. He's counting along to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that morning. He's 4 years old. He's counting to 2. He's saying 1, 2, So I take him to daycare that day. And when I pick him up, I pick up the child who's covering his ears and humming again. So what's going on? What happened? I take him back to the doctors, and they tell me, see, Christy, look, he hasn't had vaccines and he has regressed again. So his regression has nothing to do with the presence of vaccines. It actually gave their argument merit to me. Little did I know that he had been vaccinated that day. I didn't find that out for 3 more months. I went to go transfer him to kindergarten. And so I went back to the receptionist there at the daycare, and I asked for the paperwork from, I asked for those vaccine forms that we had done. I said, I need the paperwork from the doctor. I need all that, because I'm going to transfer him to kindergarten, and they're going to need that then. And she said, oh, honey, you don't need that. He's all up to date. The carrying van came, and we took everybody out that wasn't vaccinated.
Here in Oklahoma, something called the caring van.
It's a Blue Cross and Blue Shield insurance runs.
And they turn
the
up.
Caring van.
The caring van turns up at your preschool,
right?
Without your consent.
Well, at the time there was consent forms, and you checked the box yes or no and signed your name. I didn't even remember the consent form at the time. We had just finished going through all this red tape with the doctor's note and everything, But
consent form from your school to have your child
vaccinated without you present.
And you'd signed it.
I had checked the box no and signed it.
No vaccines.
I had checked the box no, I do not consent, but at the time, now the form is different, and you only sign it and submit it if you consent. But at the time, there literally was a check yes or check no box. And so I checked no and sent them in. I never thought anything of it. And why would they vaccinate me? Had a vaccine exemption on file, a doctor's note on file. I couldn't understand, and we had just done, and it was a lot of red tape. And there wasn't a soul in that school that knew that I didn't want him to have vaccines. So I didn't understand how this could happen. But when they were telling me this at the doctor's office, see, he has regressed again, we should get him caught up. If I had listened to them, he would have had the whole thing again 2 weeks later. It does take time for the carrying van does submit it to the health department, and it does eventually get in the records, but you're taking him to a doctor that knows him. They're not going to check the health department records. It could have been so dangerous. If that caused such harm to him, what would the same thing 2 weeks later have done?
I just need to understand something. So he's in preschool. You ticked the box that said no vaccine.
Right.
And he had a vaccine exemption on file.
Right.
Yet they still came into that school, this so-called caring van, which is
Marched
something
him out
out of
there.
a horror film,
Right.
Care center, yeah.
took your child on the caring van and
Right.
vaccinated him. Do you know what they gave him?
I do not know.
Because he must
it
have
would
been
have been the
petrified.
entire. It would have been what he was missing. It would have been what he was due at 4 years old. So, the second dose of MMR, it would have been a DTaP, and reading now the 4th and 5th doses of DTaP have a lot of the same reactions that the MMR.
How long ago
does.
did this happen?
He's 14 years old now, and
So-
he was 2 and 4 when this happened. So yeah, 10 and 12 years ago.
That is one of the most petrifying stories. That
It's terrifying.
it's terrifying. I mean, schools are becoming such a dangerous place for your child to be, especially the.
Yes, I mean, because you just have the school's word for what's happened to your child. I mean, he can't tell me. I can't work. I can't have anybody take care of him. It doesn't really matter even how much you trust him. He can't tell me if something weird or nasty happens to him. And so all of your trust is gone after that,
Yeah, she's
That's horrific.
been through.
Did you speak to a lawyer or get any legal help on this, or?
I didn't.
not
Nobody told
judging
me.
you.
Nobody told me that VAERS existed. I didn't know about VAERS. I didn't know that this happened to other people. And so the baby was 3 months old when Max started having seizures. I swore off doctors entirely. I didn't go to a doctor if we were sick and I felt like I knew we needed antibiotics. Everything I had thrown at it wasn't working. I went to a walk-in clinic. I didn't trust doctors. I still don't trust doctors.
This is the kind of thing that happens in California. I've heard the story of the Vax bus. Literally, it's called the Vax bus that turns up at the Californian schools. But here in Oklahoma, you've got the caring van. How scary
The caring
is
van
that?
ran by Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
They were at my son's school last year.
They're still going around.
They have a schedule. You can go to the Blue Cross and Blue Shield website, and it will link you to the Caring Van's website. The Caring Van has a schedule. They will tell you everywhere they are in every state that they operate and what their schedules are.
Okay, peeps, you have a duty to warn other people about the caring van. Is it just an Oklahoma thing, or is it nationwide?
It's
thing?
everywhere that Blue Cross and Blue Shield operates, and so they're in Illinois, they're
And
in
they
Arizona.
They like to. They frequent low income. areas like that, or
they're at the zoo all the time.
They're at the zoo.
They
Yes,
offer
they-
you free
they give
admission
you
to the
free
zoo.
admission.
They're like preying on children.
And so you've got. Could you imagine that you've got all these kids that have just lined in and gotten shot up with lots of live virus vaccines,
walking
and then they
around the
go
zoo.
into the zoo and spend the entire day at the zoo.
And then we hear
People
about
are
the-
so blasé-faire with this. Even if you believe in vaccines, you have got to take it seriously, because at the bare minimum, somebody's going to feel cruddy. I mean, you can't just expect, let's just go and spend an entire day at the zoo and drag them around while they're, spiking fevers and shedding everything all around town.
Well, it's just.
It's petrifying.
It is scary, and people don't realize that these shed. They do shed, and many people. Her story is she got measles from the MMR vaccine.
So what she's saying, for those that can't hear, is that your daughter?
Yes, this is
Your
Abby.
daughter got measles following the MMR vaccine. Yeah, we've heard that
Her
millions of
MMR
times.
vaccine. She broke out in a rash the next day. Everybody's saying, "Oh, it couldn't be the next day." It was the next day.
She got rotavirus from it
And then she
too.
got rotavirus from the rotavirus vaccine and ended up in the hospital for
Sicker than she'd ever been.
her liver had started shutting down. She was throwing up the bright green, lime green bile. It was coming out of both ends. She had to be hospitalized for a
So,
week.
okay, you stopped vaccinating.
Yes, we're done.
How old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
Just in time. You get that Gardasil coming your way. Okay,
Yes.
you fight them off in school. Okay.
She's been advised.
You homeschool, good,
Yeah, we homeschool.
good, mum. You know what, people? We really do need to start thinking about
Yeah.
taking our children out of mainstream
it's gonna come
school.
to that
It's
because
dangerous.
At some point, they're gonna
It's
if
extremely
we can't
dangerous.
make a bigger dent than what we're doing, we're gonna have to,
You need to live in communities together, have each other's
Exactly.
backs,
That's what we
homeschool each other's kids
Right.
with your expertise,
So we need to make our
and
own
stay out of the
communities.
system, because this caring van, that is petrifying.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean, they could confuse your child with another child.
Well,
You could witness an adverse reaction, and if these people, they just have a nurse and somebody processing everything, and they're going through so many kids. They are not equipped to handle even one adverse event. If that were to happen, all hell would break loose. And it has happened here in Oklahoma. We have people going to get their flu shots at the Walmart, and then you've got of course, it's never on the news. It's just because one of our PAC members witnessed it, saying, "Oh, this person got their flu shot. This ladder rescue truck is here because this person is having a flu shot reaction." It's because they went to the local grocery store to get their flu shot. And
last year they had one of our small towns here in Oklahoma. The school done all the staff and students had their flu shots. They did a free flu clinic. The next week, the whole system was shut down. That whole town, all the schools in the town were shut down because there was a flu outbreak.
So what's it going to take, Pips? How many more? Now, what else has happened with your family? You've got how many children between you guys?
I've got 3. She's got 3.
Yeah.
And are there
My
any
oldest-
that are unvaccinated and healthy? Have you got anything good
My
to
oldest
report
is up
here?
to date. He was a preemie also. He was 8 weeks early. He didn't get his 2-month shots until he was 3 months old. 2 days later, he was in the hospital with RSV. He had chronic ear infections. He would get fevers with his shots every single time, and scream and delirious. I mean, he got his shots at 2, and he was, screaming that there were bees in his diaper, and he was having, hallucinations. She had, like I said, she got measles right after the MMR that they told me were ringworms. So I took her to another doctor and said, "Oh yeah, it's measles like rash." It was the measles. She had the measles. Rotavirus, almost ended her. And then she had developed, right after her 6-month shots, she developed a little cluster of bubbles on her face. I didn't think anything of it. At first it started off like a freckle, and then it turned into these little bubbles. And they said it's
Can you turn it down?
Just speak louder.
they said it was called a Spitz nevus, and they needed to biopsy it and had to have it removed. So they went in and removed it, and they done a biopsy, and they said it did have cancerous components. Well, we got that one taken care of. Right after the 4-year shots, she got another one, and then this one came back. She got one on her chin, and then this one started coming back. We had to go again and have them. She's got 2 scars on her face where we have, and it's only been after shots that they bubbled up and came back. Because she hasn't had none since she was about 4, 5. We had to have, I think she was 5 when we had the last one removed, and or the last one popped up, and she hasn't had shots in 4 years.
Tell them about Liam.
And then we have this guy. Come here, Bubba. This
Liam
one-
is yours.
Yes.
Okay. And he was a
This guy.
15 ounce
Yes.
baby.
He was born at 24 weeks. And he was.
Maybe you could sit up here so we could hear you a bit better.
Say hi to everybody.
He was born at
24 weeks.
24 weeks at
And he
15
was
ounces.
15 ounces
Oh my
and
goodness.
10.5 inches long.
It's like the size of a dollar bill.
My phone's out there. Or I'll show her some pictures. And you go get it. I'll show her some. And they come in and just barely. He was on the ventilator for 8 weeks, or right at 8 weeks, maybe 7.5. Just got him stable, where he wasn't having too many DSATs or Brady's or anything like that. And the doctor says, "Oh, you need to go ahead and give him his Hep B shot."
Wait, how much is he weighing?
At this point, right at 2 pounds.
So 2 pounds, baby. Let's give him his Hep B.
Yeah.
Sick.
And I said, "Well, he's just now stabilized, and I'd rather kind of wait." At this point, I didn't really even know anything. I just knew, you don't give sick kids shots. I'd always been, taught that. I also thought I didn't have a choice about giving him shots. And so I said, well, hold off. He said, okay, we'll wait a couple weeks. I'll talk about it. So a few weeks goes by. At this point, he comes in and he doesn't just want to give him the Hep B, but he wants to give him the whole 2-month lineup. And he's about 2 pounds 13 ounces at this point. Well, after the Hep B conversation.
And they roll the crash cart in too. They roll the crash cart in every time.
And they come
wait,
in.
just go slow. So they rolled a crash
yes,
cart
they
in
roll.
ready
They
for...
roll it not all the way in, but set it right outside the door. And they wanted to, they thought that I would just say, oh yeah, go ahead and give him all of his 8 vaccines at 2 pounds. Like I said,
and just in case he crashes, here we go.
Yeah,
we got
and that was their reasoning.
Because it's expected. It's not. It's not just maybe. It's expected for them to crash.
I said, I don't want to do that. They said, well, it's better if we do it here because
ow. Sorry, Periscope, you were dropped. Not by me.
Wait, undid it.
By this one here. Okay.
If he has DSATs or Brady's or apneas, and he'll probably need to be reintubated. I said, you mean I had my child on a vent for 8 weeks and finally got him off, and you guys want me to risk him having to be reintubated? And it was absurd, and we fought, and I was told that I was killing my child. I was going to kill him. He was going to be dead. He wouldn't last a year. He's immunocompromised. Micropreemies have horrible immune systems. This child's been sick 1 time since he left the NICU. He had a little stomach bug, lasted a few days. He was fine. He's not had an ear infection. He's not had he had a runny nose that lasted a baby 2 hours, cutting teeth. That was it. The only time he's ever ran a temperature was teething. He's never.
He got to come home by his due date. You know,
he was home by his due date. He had no brain bleeds. He had no ROP. He had no, none of the typical things. No eating issues. No.
Right there, baby.
Nothing typical preemie. He had his PDA, which is a little hole in his heart that he had to get fixed at 18 days old. Had surgery at 18 days old. Other than that, he's right on track. He's not, we did physical therapy for a little bit, but he's, other than walking, he's done everything just about early. He can say his ABCs. You can say a letter, he can tell you the next letter coming up after it. And he's just, it's night and day from my other 2 kids. My other 2 kids were chronically sick. They always had stomach bugs. She still, gets gastrointestinal problems all the time. They both had ear infections constantly. My oldest son has asthma, really, really bad. And he hasn't had anything. We haven't been to the pulmonologist. We haven't had to go back. Most preemies that I follow, because I follow lots of them, that are his age are still, some of them aren't walking yet. Some of them aren't.
They're still.
Do you guys think that hospitals are safe places to be?
I don't.
No.
Not unless you're almost certain you're going to die anyways, and you're throwing all caution to the wind because. He should have
We've lost Periscope. Periscope's down. Sorry, Periscope. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to keep going. Oh, he's tiny.
Tell him when he has to go.
So we're just on We Are Vaccine.
Oh, no.
Most preemies, they're in and out of the hospital. Go ahead, baby.
Some of his peers have died.
Oh yeah.
Some of his peers are still have trachs. They're almost all still having some types of
and you can
usually
see
pulmonary setbacks.
The parents will post, oh, so and so got his 4-month shots or 6-month shots, or oh, he quit breathing I had one last night. He quit breathing. They couldn't figure out why, and I was like, And I couldn't remember how old he was, so I scrolled back. Oh yeah.
One of them had to get a shunt, put in because of and it's these people just. I mean, these children are born so small. Liam had a 20% chance of survival, and of those 20%, only 5% are expected to go on without brain damage. So why, of all children, why would not we treat these most precious, vulnerable lives as immunosuppressant or immunocompromised, and why wouldn't we protect them. Isn't that what the so-called herd would be for if everything is working how they say it's supposed to be working? Why do these children need to receive the same doses of aluminum neurotoxins
they're not
that a
good for, they're not
250
good for
pound
8
man
pound
would have?
babies, let alone 2-pound babies.
And they're contraindicated for weights under 4 pounds.
Under 5 pounds, actually.
Yet they're still coming in at 2 pounds and 3 pounds and 4 pounds and offering not just one, but the full 2-month lineup when this child isn't even supposed to be out of the womb yet. It boggles my mind.
That was the argument that I told the doctor. I said, but he's not supposed to be born for 2 more months. Oh, well, we don't. We do the vaccines by chronological age.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that they don't do adjusted age.
It's like they don't have any common sense, these people.
I'm like, that's not
It's
how
fascinating.
this should work at all. And so, yeah, I fought, and I was really scared that, he was going to be medically kidnapped because
They were really hateful.
I refused him, and thankfully we had a few wonderful nurses that were understanding. But it was terror the whole time until we got him home because I just knew, in my gut, I knew if he got these shots, he would not be faring the way he did. Because he came out with minimal, damage as, most preemies don't get as, or are not nearly as fortunate. He did come home on oxygen, but that was it. He's been fine. We went to his 2-year checkup. The doctor says, "Oh, we'll see you next year." Other preemie parents are, have appointments once a week, 3 times a week. We were going to start. I thought I might start speech therapy for him, to give him a little head start. And they said, no, he doesn't even need it. He's doing just fine without it. And that's the main reason I wanted to come here. Yeah, we have our stories of injury or adverse reactions, but people need to know that non-vaccinated kids are freaking healthy kids. They're that kid he gets around like nobody's business and nothing. He's not been sick. He's literally not one stomach bug. My other 2 kids, by the time they were a year old, had multiple illnesses. It was a non-stop battle. And people need to know that it's not, your kids they don't carry a deadly disease. They're not carriers. They're not, and these diseases aren't deadly to begin with. We had chickenpox, we had measles, we had mumps when I was a kid. When my parents were kids, we all are still here to tell our stories.
And everybody keeps saying, "What about polio? What about polio?" Well, what about polio? Most of it is 95% of it is asymptomatic. It's just like a cold. You wouldn't have even known you had it. But even in the worst case scenario, say Max had been crippled by polio instead of crippled by the MMR, he would be a spitfire from his wheelchair and be able to use his mind. I would choose to sacrifice his limbs to save his mind if that's what the choice was. But they don't tell you how common this brain damage is. They don't tell you how common these adverse reactions are. They act like everything is peachy king, and this is literally God serum in a bottle, and we're going to shoot your child up with it, and they're going to be perfect and healthy. And if you don't, they're going to suffer all kinds of unspeakable horrors. Well, it's not the case. The case for me has been completely 100% opposite.
And
that's showing the size of. Wait, no.
Yeah, there you go.
Periscope's off, Dad. Do you see how tiny this little boy is? Are we okay? Did someone fall down?
No, he's fine. No, Maxie. Put it down. Watch out for heads.
And the thing is,
Abby, it's probably gonna...
You can open the door if you like, if no one will run out,
Maxie,
because
stop,
the
baby.
air conditioning's not
Abby,
working.
grab him.
No, the kids.
Yes, that was my husband's wedding ring
done.
on his arm. That's how small he was and how fragile he was. And he was, super, super tiny. And, there was babies in there that, weren't making it. They were even twice as big as he was.
So what's your message to parents who have babies very early?
Please don't vaccinate them. I follow preemies. I probably follow at least 50 different preemies, and every single time I'll see a post, parents, you know, oh, so and so got, you know, their shots today, and then the next day. And as a matter of fact, there was one, and I sent it to Christy just the other day. Oh, he just got his shots. Well, yeah, he's having, you know, cerebral issues, and yeah, we got to go put a shunt in. You know, and he had been doing fine. He had his shunt removed and was doing great. And turn around and, you know, 2 weeks after his shots, they are having, you know, he's screaming and in agony, and they're having to replace the shunt. You know, people just don't realize that. I had no clue. I mean, I knew that I didn't like shot. I'd never advocated for vaccines, but I had no clue I had a choice. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Keep your choices. Even if you think vaccines are the best thing in the world, you need to make sure that people keep their choice as to whether or not, because you never know. You never know if your kid's going to be Max. You never know if your kid's going to be my daughter, who, you know, was 4 years old and got a rotavirus vaccine that she wasn't even supposed to get. I guess maybe it's because they just came out. I don't know why that she got that, but yes.
All right. Well, so have you written your name on the bus? Okay, let's go and write some names on the bus.
We're here. We're on the bus.
You're on the bus. Okay, anybody got anything else to say before we come off? Periscope's down, so they're off already. All right, they love you, and you guys are amazing. Okay, we're back soon.